Hey everyone, this podcast is part of Story Mode, the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. You can support us and gain access to other great exclusive podcasts at patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
You gonna go to Old Spaghetti Factory?
Spaghetti Factory?
We're gonna go to the Old Spaghetti Factory, Tom.
What are you talking about?
You want to go? Do you want to come to the Old Spaghetti Factory?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I've never been.
What is that?
It's apparently a restaurant.
It sounds like you're referring to something that I should know about, but I don't.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched Infinite.
Infinite.
Yeah. Ironically, it ended.
Yeah,
the movie.
It was a really unexpected twist.
The visions you've had your entire life aren't hallucinations. They're memories.
You're talking about reincarnation.
The legend never die, you get reborn.
We call ourselves the Infinite. We remember skills from all our past lives. It takes 10,000 hours to master a skill. How could you be after 1,000,000 hours?
Pretty damn good.
Look, listen.
Look.
This is
listen.
Mark Wahlberg, past lives.
This is 50-year-old Mark Wahlberg
Yeah.
discovering that he's the special boy
Yeah.
who is going to
this is
save the world. There's like a secret
from a
organization.
doomsday device.
Yeah. Secret world of people who just get reincarnated but retain all the memories of their previous lives, and it's another secret war type
They're
movie.
called the Believers, Tom.
The Believers
They're called
versus the
Believers.
Nihilists. Yes.
This is all right. Very low score on both audiences and critics
And Metacritic.
I enjoyed the audience reviews because it's people who are like giving it 2 stars, and they're coming in. They're like, look, it's a movie, folks. If you just you accept that, you shut off your brain, and it's still not good.
Yeah.
It's a lot of those people who are like,
Right.
I was ready for a dumb action film, and this still didn't meet that.
It's like
mark.
reviewers coming in like, I was ready for the baseline experience of moving images with sound.
Yeah.
2 stars.
This is where do we start? Okay.
Okay, well, I mean, obviously, what is there?
How did you like the film,
Is
Tom?
is there business we get out of the way first? Do we say anything? This is a movie that's on Paramount Plus. I think it might also be in theaters, but it's definitely on Paramount Plus. We figured there is some other stuff we could cover, but we figured nobody really wants to listen to us talk about In the Heights or
No, this is a juicy one for us. This is perfect.
yeah,
for us.
I think the other perfect one for us would have been A Quiet Place, but we decided on this just because it's easy.
Yeah. I'm kind of hoping to not see A Quiet Place 2.
I want to. I'm honestly still a little gun shy about going to the theater.
Oh yeah,
I haven't been yet. Since our get together, our group get together.
Right, but you haven't actually
I haven't gone to see a movie.
It's fine. I realized about A Quiet Place 2. I didn't really care for the first one that much, and this is a sequel where I'm like, I have no interest in it.
Yeah.
I just have no interest.
Right,
I don't think about it. I
right.
constantly forget it even exists.
Yeah, it's like when each new Hunger Games was coming out, I was like, I got nothing.
Yeah, if someone's like, I really loved it, I'd be like, good for you. I don't think about it, and that's that. I just don't. I don't know. No one wants me to see a movie like that. Where it's like, yeah, it's a movie. Like, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's fine.
I've heard good things, but
Yeah.
I think I also
and then Luca,
I enjoyed the first one more than you did, but
yeah.
Oh, yeah, and then Luca,
is
yeah.
probably really good, but
yeah. It's hard to
and-
talk
and
about
so-
Pixar movies. We've discovered.
Yeah, because they're just very
We've
good.
done a few, so it just winds up us. Like, I think doing Soul was us talking about like how it punched us in the gut as people trying to make it in a creative industry.
Oh yeah. But this is like yum yum yum.
Oh
yum,
yeah,
yum.
this is finger licking bullshit.
Yeah.
This movie.
This is almost okay. I think this is almost enjoyable. this needed like Nicolas Cage. That's the kind of movie we're talking about here, I think.
Well, okay. The question was, did you enjoy this movie? Dave, did you enjoy this movie?
I think, all right, it's hard. This is hard. Because I think I enjoyed making notes about how silly this movie was and all the little stupid things. I think the characters, except for the villain, I think they needed to chew the scenery a lot more, which is what my problem was, is that it was bouts of confusion and boredom, and I knew it would make a good podcast, but this is like we'd watch this on Friday nights, you know?
Yeah.
This is a fun get together and like make fun of a movie, I think. So
yeah,
I guess in that sense, I did enjoy it. Like you texted me that it was better than the Old Guard.
Yes.
And at first I was like, I don't know about that. But then I realized like, yeah, the Old Guard was more boring.
Yeah.
This is less boring.
This is way less boring.
Never get tired of seeing Jason Mantzoukas show up.
We're gonna talk about that because Dave, here's my surprising answer to that question. I kind of did like this movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Because this movie, I feel like it's filled with every single cliche. It is incredibly stupid. It is filled with plot holes. And I think the action just isn't quite good.
It's not quite good, but it is better than. I think this is. Okay, so when you do an action movie nowadays, you can kind of go in two directions, right? You can go in a John Wick direction, which is like the realistic, grounded, cool choreography type direction that's closer to like martial arts movies. Or you can go in the Fast and Furious direction, which is like it's about big, cartoonish, impossible spectacle.
Yeah, it's just CGI.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, Fast and the Furious, they don't use CGI when they can avoid it. Yeah. And this movie doesn't either. This movie uses a more practical stuff than I would have expected. Sure.
I think this movie is a decent enough example of what a lot of kind of dull action movies try to do, which is toe the line between the two, and it doesn't quite work out because it's like, well, what do I care? But I think this movie did some honestly clever things with its writing that I was just charmed enough by to
I'm gonna need to know what
enjoy.
That is.
Yeah. I don't know. I enjoyed the premise. I'm sad we won't get to see any more because I like that they set up. I like the setup of this universe where you can essentially. It's like Doctor Who or James Bond, where they've written in an explanation for just replacing the characters with new actors playing the same character. It's a brilliant idea.
Here's the thing I liked. I liked the core premise, and we should explain what that is, which is that these are a group of people who are aware that they're reincarnated.
Yeah.
And so their experiences roll over to the next life. So they are thousands of years of lifetimes of experiences. That is a great idea. The thing that was stupid was all the other stuff. For example,
they're branding.
They give him. They brand. They brand.
They have a little Infinite logo on everything.
On their seats, on their planes.
Yep.
I was like, the fuck is this? And I wanted to know more because you can kind of assume like, okay, they probably have a lot of money because it's accumulated lifetime to lifetime. Probably a lot of wills that are confusing. But like, okay, sure. But like the branding is so dumb. And on top of this premise, the problems are, one, they had to give him superpowers on top of it.
Yeah, that was real baffling.
They didn't matter because they tell him like, also you're going to get a superpower. We don't know what it is, but you're going to get it. And I'm like, oh boy, I bet that's going to kick in near the third act.
I think.
And it does for a minute.
Yeah.
And then it goes away.
Imagine if the first Star Wars.
Ooh.
Okay, it's basically what it is Mark Wahlberg's character. The character's name is Treadway, as he's existed through hundreds of years and several generations of lifetimes.
Right.
He has basically the Force But like but the way I'm trying to work my head around this metaphor that I am then trying to deliver
powers.
for you. Yeah, it's like if they did Star Wars, didn't tell you what the Force was really, it just showed someone kind of use it a little bit toward the end. It felt like they were planting a seed for a sequel that was a little less
not good.
Yeah, it wasn't good, but it was less hitting you over the head with the fact that it was trying to plant a seed for a sequel.
Right.
And it was weird that I appreciated that, because normally they do dumb shit like make the first movie a prologue for the, like that's been kind of the complaint. And this movie doesn't do that, to its credit. This is a complete story that can exist on its own and probably will.
Yeah. That's really lowering the bar, but yes.
Yeah. So I did.
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. It's all right. So it's basically Wanted or I guess technically The Matrix, that's what it wants to be.
It's closer to The Matrix, yeah. It's less obnoxious than Wanted, but yeah.
No, but what I'm saying, it starts with like basically narration, which I believe just vanishes throughout the movie.
He narrates the beginning and end.
Okay, he does narrate the end. And it's basically like, I never fit in my whole life. That's why it reminded me of Wanted.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like, I hate my life. What am I going to do? And there's a lot of movies like that.
Yeah.
And then it's basically like action sequence. Suddenly you're in a car. Wait, who are you?
Yeah.
And someone being like, you're a magic. You're special boy.
You're
and
a
I've
magic.
seen that.
You're a wizard, Harry.
I've seen that in so many movies.
Yeah, it's every trope. It is every trope.
The villain just wants to blow up the world.
Hold on. I'm going to push back on that, because I thought one of the good pieces of writing in this movie was the villain's motivation. The issue is that they didn't tell us what that was really until an hour in. So
it's
for the first
another one where I sort of understood where he was coming from.
Yeah, I didn't need them to elaborate really, because I got it. But when they did elaborate, I thought it was like you were saying, how the core premise is like a good idea. I think the idea of I thought this was a good idea. Like, I understood if you're going to go the route of just doing, well, they're a zealot, which is, it gets a lot of criticism for being lazy writing when you just can't figure out a reason for your villain to be just a complete nihilistic maniac. You're just like, well, they're a zealot. With him, it's the way the bad guy's reincarnation has worked is, with other people, normally you slowly retain your memories as you get older and as you develop. With him, when he sort of wakes up in a womb, like when he is reincarnated, he has complete adult awareness in all of his memories, but it's in that tiny fetus. And he has to sit there and wait, basically.
Right.
With like, just imagine transplanting your adult psyche into an infant. Like, and he's
gone insane.
Yeah, he's gone insane because he's had to do that an infinite number of times.
Here's the
thing.
That's
the title.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's not executed well, because I understand him. I don't understand the people working for him.
Nope. They don't speak. That's how they get around that.
Yeah.
None of his henchmen have lines.
Also, there's a way to do that. Here's how I would have done it, because there's a point in this movie. So there's a MacGuffin. It's called the egg. Not good.
Dave?
Not a good...
Dave, I was watching this with Marina, and I'm curious if you made the same connection. She just kept saying, "This is Assassin's Creed," over and over again.
Yeah, it is very Assassin's Creed.
They even have an animus.
Yeah, but it just drowns you.
Well, they have two different ones. They have one that, like,
they have the other one. Yeah,
little needles in his face to make him remember, and then the other one is just a giant tube that drowns
fucking
him.
Dumb. So, like, I once again have to state, this movie as is, but with Nicolas Cage, I'd be like, make 100 of these.
Well, originally...
I don't care if you have to recast it. Keep Nicolas Cage.
Well, originally, the lead character was supposed to be Chris Evans, which makes a lot more sense.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Because one of the big problems with the movie that I had is that Mark Wahlberg's character is clearly written to be a younger man.
Yes.
He is fucking dead ass 50 years old.
Okay, let's go in order. Let's start with that, because there's a beginning sequence of a car chase, and we see basically the deaths of these characters that they're going to reincarnate. Mm-hmm. The problem is then we cut to 50-year-old Mark Wahlberg, and I'm like, wait, was that the 70s? Because it doesn't look like the 70s.
No, it looks like 2013.
Yeah. Problem
scene.
number one
Yeah.
is that what we're talking about is that you die, then you are born, you live your life, and at some point they say puberty, it triggers in your brain that you've been, you remember. Mark Wahlberg is 50. So it means, yes, that opening sequence happened at least 50 years ago, which if you do the math, doesn't make any sense. So it was immediate like, oh no.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little things. So we find out, all right, the job interview. He goes in for a job interview, and the guy is like, you have a history of assault, which I was like, is this just Mark Wahlberg? Okay.
Are we just talking to Mark Wahlberg? Yeah.
Yeah. And so the guy basically, he sits down for the job interview to be told, we're not going to hire you. To which I said, why did they do the job interview?
Why did they call him in? Yeah, that's just, it's madness. It's setting up a situation to make his, aggression seem justified, because the way they get into it, it's like, yeah, he broke a customer's arm, but it was after the customer was, physically assaulting a waitress.
Right.
So it's like, oh, well, of course, fuck that guy. But, yeah, nobody would call, certainly not for an extremely high-end restaurant in New York, which is what this is supposed to be. They would not call him in to tell him he didn't have the job. It's a fucking waste of their time.
It's such a weird sequence. Yeah.
It's baffling. It would not happen.
Yeah. He complains about how he doesn't have money, and then we find out that he is making swords for a drug dealer for prescription drugs. And it's like a real Florida crime situation where the drug dealer is going to cut off his girlfriend's arm, and then Mark Wahlberg has to fight him. It's very silly, but again, it's fun. It's a fun silly. It's
dumb, but it's fun.
Yeah, he runs from the cops. He jumps off a 6-foot wall and just buckles a car.
Yeah.
He's like the Hulk.
Yeah.
He's like the Terminator.
Mark Wahlberg is extremely dense.
Yeah.
He's like dark matter.
So he gets arrested, and so we cut to Toby Jones, and he's like, there's a man who got arrested. The arrest report says he had a sword that hasn't been made since the blank century, and I'm like, the arrest
NYPD
report?
made that report?
Yeah. So this is the type of movie we're talking about.
What, do you have Indiana Jones working at the police station?
Right.
What fucking scientist looked at that sword and was like, this steel folding technique hasn't been used since this obscure dynasty in Japan? Nobody
so
at the New York
dumb.
Police Department knows that.
Nobody. No, who would know that?
Who would know that? 13
From looking
people
at the
on the
sword.
planet would know that.
Yeah. That's the whole point. The whole point. But I don't blame the writers. I don't blame the director. I blame the producers. Because I think what happened is that some poor fucking writer had to get from A to B in a span of a minute. And was like, I guess this is how we're going to do it. Because this movie feels very rushed in terms of setting it up, which I get why. Because they're 20 minutes in, we're getting into the action, you know?
Yeah.
But it's so dumb.
Yeah.
It's just such a bad way of doing it. So, he goes to the police station in their weird soundproof. It looks like the back room of an S&M club.
Yeah,
they're soundproof.
It looks like a recording
room.
studio. Yeah,
yeah, and that doesn't make any sense. The bad guy interrogates him. He gets rescued in a supercar.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
With infinity car seats.
Yes,
and
when you press
press
the button, it moves the steering wheel.
Yeah, and that was the point where it's I need things to be explained to me. We need to. You're introducing a bunch of new technology that doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
I need to know why. They never explain it, really.
Well, this is rather than go through a point by point of what's dumb about this movie.
But this is kind of the thing because it's all the little things.
Yeah, it's a mountain of little things. There's a broad thing that I wanted to talk about where
sure.
It's just a big part of this movie is this like shadow war, this invisible war between the believers and the nihilists. And they're like, the believers believe we should use this ability to better mankind, and that's what we can use our thousands of years of knowledge and wisdom to help humanity. And they never explain how or show us how. It's like, how are they helping anything? They're not developing anything, like no medicine, no technology, what do they do that is helping humanity?
As we learned from this car chase, they blow up cops.
They sure do.
They blow up the cops.
Yeah, fuck
and that was
those
when I was
cops.
like, huh. Yeah. So it's very this is what I mean is like, it's a great premise, but all right, so I'll get to the broader things. The egg, for example. So the idea of the egg is it's a generic doomsday device.
Yeah.
You arm it and then it, I don't know, kills everything Thanos style.
It does, yeah. It's just a straight up Thanos.
The nihilists are trying to blow up everything. Again, the only person who has a motivation for this, however, is the main villain.
Is the bad guy, yeah. No, not clear why anyone else would be into his idea unless they're having the same experience that he's having, but that's never disclosed to us.
Yeah, and that's stupid enough, but then he gets the egg. And my thought was, why aren't you immediately doing it? He says, like, run some tests. We got to make sure it's real. And I'm like, you know what's a good test? Pressing the thing, doing the thing. Just do the thing.
Yeah.
You've been desperate for this item. Just do the thing, you know? And then he like puts it on a plane at the end, and I'm like, where are you going with that? Just do it. That's the big issue is the MacGuffin should be dangerous the moment it's in the bad guy's hands. Like the moment it literally goes into his hands, it should be over. And the game should have been, it needs to not be in his hands. And had they made it so that what the bad guy was experiencing, where the womb shit was what all of those people were experiencing.
Yeah.
Then you have an army of desperate people who just want to, and then you have like a fun idea for an action where it's like they literally can't touch this. If they touch it, they'll immediately press it or do whatever to it and end the world. But instead it's he gets it and he's like, "Wahaha, I will now sit on this for a while." And it's like, why? What are you doing with that thing? Why just end the world?
He
That's
wanted
what
to
you
put
want
it
to
in
do.
a big exploding box and drop it on a big city. It's like, nah, man, just press the button. Just you
press
got
the
it.
button.
You won.
Yeah.
You got it.
If this thing kills everything, you don't need to go to a city. You just have to activate it, and then you're done.
Yeah.
And so it gets it's
another silly thing about it is they do a quick line to explain away. Okay, this is let me talk, because this is an overall problem with the movie. Is while I did identify some moments where I thought the writing was genuinely clever, which I will get to. There's a lot of moments, like a couple of things that you've already talked about, where it's clear that they had a problem that needed to be solved, and so they just did something really quick with a line or something to solve that problem. So the problem that was solved by this is okay. There's the obvious question is, why doesn't the bad guy just make another egg? Because like he's been without the game is that Mark Wahlberg's character hid the egg in his previous life before he died, so everybody's trying to get him and get his memory so they can find out where he hid the egg in his previous life. So
I can't wait to talk about where he hid the egg.
Yes,
Go on.
it's incredible. Because also he literally says, "Look in."
He does.
So the thing that I was wondering, and I imagine that a lot of people were, is in the intervening decades, as we discussed, Mark Wahlberg is 50, so it has to have been at least a few decades since he died.
Yeah.
Why hasn't the bad guy just built another egg? So they throw in this quick line about how the egg was like an idea he had, but he made humans build it for him. And and then they're like, yeah, Treadway killed his Einstein, so he couldn't remake the egg. And then we just keep going, and that's their explanation. It's like, okay, so the whole premise here is that these infinites, the glorious purpose of their existence is to better humanity and advance humanity with their thousands of years of knowledge and wisdom. But like,
Right.
if they have all of that and they still need to like tag in some normal ass human to build this impossible doomsday device, you
Right.
guys aren't helping humanity that much.
No, you're
Like,
really not.
What are you learning? What is this knowledge? Like, what do you do that benefits the world? They don't do anything.
Oh my god!
He had
They
to
don't do
have a
anything. They don't
person.
do a
He
single
had to
thing.
find a person to make this egg for him. And the only reason that line is in there is to solve the problem of why didn't he just make another egg?
Yes, there's a lot of that. Again, it feels like there's like 10 producers and they're all throwing in notes in the scripting process, and it results in this. Because it starts from a very clever action premise, and then all the plot stuff, all the explanations is just bullshit. It's just gibberish.
Mm-hmm.
It is Jason Mantzoukas has a machine. So I guess I want to walk people through this. So he's like there. So a lot of the movie, again, Mark Wahlberg hid the egg in his previous life. He doesn't remember, so they need to access his memories.
Yeah.
The way they do that is they're like, we're going to put you in this machine that'll do that for you. Mantzoukas explains, you know how your life flashes before your eyes before you die. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that's not real, but go on. It's fine. It's one of those 10% of your brain
right.
things.
Well, at that, I think this is even more egregious because that's not a literal
No,
saying.
it's a saying.
It's a saying.
It's just
it's a turn
yeah.
of phrase. Like,
It's a turn of phrase, and they're like, we all know how that's scientific fact, right? So I built a machine. God, how is Mantzoukas going to cover this, and how did this get made?
I
'Cause
assume
they're
they just
gonna have
wouldn't.
to.
Because they never do Piranha either. Piranha
That's
3D.
true. So he's like, this is a device that'll do that. It's a big, like, imagine like the thing Captain America went in, but like more modern. Like it's a big human pod.
Yeah, it's like a sensory deprivation chamber.
Yeah, but it's like big, and it's got like 50 wires and cords coming out the back, and it's like hooked up to a machine. He gets in it, and we learn all it does is fill with water and drown him.
Yep.
That is all it does.
It looks
it's a
like
drowning
it looks
machine.
like it costs about $4 million.
Yeah.
And all it does is drown a person.
Cut to like Constantine, where he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll just stick you in a
Rachel
bathtub."
Weisz in a
Yeah.
bathtub.
Because if you need to drown somebody, you don't have to spend that much money on it.
No.
And it's literally all the machine does. And it's one of those moments where it's like you can see like how maybe that machine was an idea early on,
Yeah.
and then it never got cut out.
Yeah.
But they still, like, it's that sort of thing where, like, by the time it makes it, they're like, it really just needs to drown him, because that helps with his arc with the water or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then it becomes this big thing where, like, they forget to change it, and then it's suddenly a big stupid machine that just drowns you.
Yeah.
It's a lot of that.
I think Mantzoukas himself is another example of that, because Mantzoukas' character is. I'll give the movie credit. He's at least in this movie way more than he's in John Wick 3, even though
Yes.
he got like his own character poster for John Wick 3.
Yeah.
But like this movie also confusingly forces him to play it straight for most of it. Like he has
some jokes.
He has
but-
like one or two jokes, but like he's mostly being pretty straight. And it's like, why on earth would you cast Jason Mantzoukas and not let him be Jason Mantzoukas?
right.
It's very strange.
Oh, yeah. But also, when Mark Wahlberg decides to get drowned, he says the line, I wrote it down, I can't let anybody else get hurt because of what's in my head.
Can't let anybody else get hurt because of what's in my head.
At that point, nobody has gotten hurt. Like, no one's really...
Didn't he blow up some cops or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but he doesn't seem to care about that. His character is very rushed, because it's literally, get in a car, you're a special boy. They stop, and he's like, wait, I thought reincarnation was fake. And like they have like one conversation, and then he's just like, okay, and then that's it. He's accepted the entire premise, and that's that. You know, it's very, again, it has to be rushed because they have to just move the movie along. So he just sort of, he's a non-character. He barely has an arc, it felt like. It's all it feels like all the exposition is just like desperately trying to set things up. Like the idea of his background with schizophrenia, it's just to explain the past memories, but it doesn't inform his character. You know, the rejection at the job interview, it's not about that. They mention he has a metal plate in his head. It's only so that later he can get shot.
Well, no, it's not. And that's one of the things that I honestly had to give the movie credit for, because it also explains why his memory doesn't come back.
Ah, okay.
And it ties into the idea that you're correct that his giving the character this background of like mistaking the past life memories as mental illness, and he's had like this desperate life trying to get those memories to go away because he thinks that means he's got some kind of issue.
Right.
And so like the metal plates in his head because he tried to kill himself, like he crashed his car. None of that informs his character. You're 100% correct. But I had to give the movie credit for the metal plate doesn't come out of nowhere, and it actually integrates into the story earlier in a way that didn't make me still
doesn't
looking.
Flag it. You don't flag it.
Right. I wasn't still looking for a reason for it to be there. So when he gets shot in the back of the head in the end of the movie, I was like, oh, fuck, his metal plate. It was like, oh, all right.
That's fair.
Fair play, Infinite.
I think the writer is doing his best.
Yeah.
But all right, I guess this is how I describe it. Is a movie like The Matrix. I think the Wachowskis built a world and then they put characters in it.
Yeah.
This is building a world to explain what's happening to everything is put it's like this like makeshift like cobbled together vehicle where there's tubes going everywhere and like it's just to make it function.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, for example, the villain has a weapon that is, what is it called? The Dethroner.
The Dethroner.
And it's just to add stakes.
Well, he doesn't even have it. It's in Toby Jones's office.
Oh yeah.
So they don't.
Is that at Professor X's mansion?
I think so. I can't remember if they just move in. No, because that's the bad guys. Professor X's mansion is the bad guy's base because he has all of the souls he stole with the Dethroner in there.
Yeah. I don't know how the Dethroner works, but I guess he shoots you, and you don't come back, and he gets your soul?
It puts they've discovered the singularity and turned it into a weapon. Basically, it uploads your consciousness to a computer chip, and then he basically keeps it there. He has a little vault where he has all these people that he's trapped in these computer chips.
Them? It looks like it just fires bullets.
It's a bullet. Yeah, it just shoots a bullet into you that does it.
Does he have to dig the bullet out after?
I believe so.
All right. And the bullet, it doesn't matter where you shoot him. Do you have to shoot him in the head?
Probably in the head. It doesn't seem to have to be shot in the head, but I don't know.
I mean, here's the thing. The first time we see the Dethroner used, doesn't a car explode after he shoots them?
He shoots the gasoline with it to explode the car, and then it's like...
And then later, the female
lead's...
like...
Right, yeah, the female lead's whole thing is that the other person in the car with her was her, like...
lover.
1,000-year lover, like a person that they've been together through multiple lifetimes.
And she's like, he got dethroned.
Right, like, how did he get trapped? And she, like, it doesn't... Yeah. It's shit like that.
It's gibberish. This is gibberish.
Yeah.
And so it's that, like, he shoots the gas tank of a car with the Dethroner, and that apparently dethrones one of them, but not the other. Yeah. But it's like, I don't even know how that thing works.
And how the Dethroner went from, because the bad guy has it in that flashback, and then the present day version takes it out of a chest that's in Toby Jones's office. It's like, how did they get the gun from him in that previous life, and why is it just sitting in an unlocked cigar box on Toby Jones' desk?
It's because probably they added that at the last minute.
Yeah.
And they were like, we need stakes. There needs to be... It was probably a producer note that was like, I feel like there's no stakes in this because if they die, they just reincarnate. So they were like, okay, I guess we'll add... I'm guessing that was near the end of the drafting process, you know? And then they thought up that stupid romantic arc. Maybe that replaced a romantic arc that Mark Wahlberg had. I don't know. You know, I assume when they brought him on, they were like, he's too old. Like, he shouldn't. Well, very rightfully, we shouldn't give him a romantic arc with this young lady.
For sure. But it's also, like, I'm glad they realized that, but they didn't realize that having him be that old also breaks the entire movie.
Yeah. Well, because they were like, we got Mark Wahlberg.
We got Mark Wahlberg, yeah.
We'll make it work. And no, you didn't. You didn't make it work.
It's still confusing why this 50-year-old man is our special boy.
Yeah. So, my fucking God. There's... I want to talk about the egg and where he hid it. So,
yeah,
Mark Wahlberg carved... In the sequence where they're the car chase at the beginning, he says, "If I don't make it, look inside."
Mm-hmm. Look inside, and it's like a memory that he kept having in his new life, and so he's carved "look inside" onto his stomach.
Yeah, and at the time I was like, he doesn't mean inside him, right? Because that would be stupid. And it turns out that in the middle of the car chase, Mark Wahlberg's past self cut himself open and shoved the egg in, like, just his stomach.
It into his stomach, and then had a sword fight after that.
Yeah, and it's like when he's like, "If I don't make it," it's like, you're not gonna make it. You shoved a metal egg in your body,
egg into your belly. You're gonna die of sepsis.
Yeah. Conveniently, they also save corpses.
Yeah.
And their reasoning, they were like,
"Well, this makes a lot of sense, actually, to me."
Well, they're like, "We're trying to find out scientifically."
Yeah.
What but first I thought, like, you really only need the brain, but secondly,
they don't know.
I would also assume the only difference between them and the rest of the world is they remember, right?
That would presumably be the thing, is everybody is reincarnated, and just these are the only people who remember.
So that's all they need to figure out is why do they we remember and they don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much, like, human dissection you need for that. I don't know. I don't think they need to keep saving. They have like a giant room of bodies.
Yeah,
and I was like, I don't think you need this many.
I don't know that. I
don't think this is how science works.
That made sense to me. Like, after a while, you would start saving everybody's body because you're like, we got to figure out what's going on here.
Yeah, but I don't think you need that. I don't know. I don't think that's how science works. Is my point.
Man, science doesn't work like this.
They just have them on ice. And
they have them in fanciful
fantasy
ice,
tanks,
yeah.
So yeah, that's what it means. They have to cut open his corpse, and that's how they get the egg out, because he has shoved it in his body. Here's the thing: how dumb is that? Because what if he fell a long distance? What if he got hit by a train?
He does fall a long distance.
You're right, and his body would explode.
Yeah,
it should have.
That egg would have burst out of his asshole.
Yeah, it's actually a very unsafe place to put the egg. If he had exploded in the car, there's so many ways putting the egg in your body will not. Because, he probably thought, like, they preserve bodies, so I should put it in my body. But, like, how often do they lose bodies?
Right, in this situation,
Mark Wahlberg
it's
falls
like
into the fucking ocean at the end.
Yeah, how it's like in Mexico City. It's a huge explosion. Like, how are they going to get there? Like that like the police are going to be grabbing his body and very shortly.
Yeah, it's again, this is the movie. This is the movie.
Yeah.
He has a Tony Stark drone computer that looks quite frankly harder to control drones with than if you use the joystick.
So hard, because it was like, okay, so the bad guy at the end, he's in Xavier's mansion, and Jason Mantzoukas in an attack helicopter and Mark Wahlberg in an attack ATV are coming to attack his mansion. So he unleashes these two drones that he's controlling using like this cool Tony Stark Minority Report interface. That, I mean, it looks cool, but like there's no.
He has to like move his whole body.
He has to move his whole body. There's no feed showing him what the drones are seeing.
Yeah.
So it's like, how does he know where the fuck he's steering these things?
All you need is a television and a PlayStation controller.
Yep. You just need a TV screen and a fucking video game remote. That's all you need.
Yeah. But I think there was a note where a producer is like, this could be the new Avengers. We want to make it like the new superhero movies.
Well, and I get it. It's just not particularly exciting to see a guy sitting there with a controller, but like...
But
this is
it's so
very
forced
silly. Yeah.
because they need an action sequence.
Yeah.
And it clear he just like
have him fight the drones. Don't make the action sequence this guy really intensely moving his arms around.
Yeah. Or have him fight just people.
Or people, yeah. Because
But
there's
they
people
were-
out there, but the people get blown up immediately, and then they're
Yeah.
fucking with these drones. It's like, have
So,
them fight the people. What is
fucking-
this?
2 CGI drones just like rise out of this old mansion, and it was like, yeah, what are we doing? What are we doing? And I think it's again this writer trying to please a bunch of people, and so like the notes are like, make it more like a superhero thing, and the problem is it just isn't that.
Yeah.
But he has to add some stuff, so they shoehorn in a superpower. They shoehorn in this Tony Stark stuff, where it's like you're not getting enough, but it's enough for some producer to sign off on it.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. It felt like a writing assignment where he had a bunch of things, and since it was so many notes, they couldn't actually make a cohesive film, but just like do all the stuff they want. Because the superpower, they add that on top, and I thought like that, you already had a clever idea, which is that they're just they're the most skilled people in the world. That's a clever idea. And then the superpowers, it's like, okay, here we fucking go. And what that amounts to is Mark Wahlberg jumps his motorcycle onto a plane, and it's windy. It's too windy. So he's like holding onto a sword, and he can't move. And then his superpower kicks in, and it seems to give him the power to control the wind.
Like he can
or block
move,
himself from it.
He can move like outside of it somehow. Like it's what he does in the beginning to make the jump out of the car onto a crane instead of just like fucking falling to his death.
Right. And so he uses it to get in the plane. And that is the extent of his superpower being used in the film.
Yeah.
And I thought it would have been cooler if he found a non-superpower way to get in that plane. That would have been objectively a more intense
cooler action sequence. Yeah. Also, I'm not sure like that pilot is awesome because fucking Mark Wahlberg landed on one wing with a motorcycle while that thing was in flight, and the plane doesn't even tilt a little bit.
No, and in fact, the motorcycle rolls into the
engine, right? Like they have it,
and like, the plane is fine.
This super extreme thing happened where it's like, I'm pretty sure jumping a motorcycle onto the wing of this plane while it's in midair would have been enough to bring it down. But maybe not. I don't know.
I bet there was a version where he just got on the plane, and they're like, "Can he get on in a cooler way?" And then they're like, "Yeah, do that. Have an explosion." And like, no one thought about how that ruins the sequence because that would take down the plane. So they just simply went, "Yeah, but the plane is fine."
There's
like, no, it's not.
Yeah,
it's not fine.
It is definitely not. Also, during that, it makes for a cool little sequence of shots, but the plane ends up doing several barrel rolls, and it's like, I just don't think that airplane is capable of doing that without ripping itself apart.
Yeah, and missing an engine.
Missing 2 engines, I believe, at that point.
Yeah. Maybe those barrel rolls weren't intentional? I don't know.
Don't do a barrel roll.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so there's 2 things I wanted to talk about before we finish. There's 2 things that I thought were genuinely good.
Okay.
Apart from the first clever thing that I wanted to flag was the metal plate thing. So we've talked about that.
Yeah, that is, now that you mention it, I didn't flag it early on when they mention it. I didn't think like, oh, that's going to come in later.
And they were able to integrate it in a couple of different ways. So I was like, oh, that's not bad. Fair play, Infinite.
Yeah.
There is a legitimately good scene between Chiwetel Ejiofor and Toby Jones, which big surprise. But they basically he shows up at Toby Jones' office and is interrogating him, and they waterboard him with honey, which is pretty gnarly.
Right.
And then basically this is when we get the bad guy's motivation. He starts to explain the sort of hell that he goes through every time he gets reincarnated. And it devolves into him shouting like this, like really pained, like we keep using the word desperate, but that's like the villain's primary motivation is that he's desperate.
Yeah, and Chiwetel is killing
He's killing it, yeah.
Because of who he is.
Because
he's giving it all he's got.
Yeah. So,
and that's, again, I wish Mark Wahlberg was also someone
Yeah.
who was giving it all they got.
Yeah. So in this scene, it devolves into him shouting like his desperate anguish, and then overlapping Toby Jones is shouting back how they view reincarnation and these endless lifelines, where it's like, yeah, you're never going to understand friendship, you're never going to understand love, you're never going to understand making these connections. So it's just them shouting their conflicting sort of the two different directions you can go when you're doing like the philosophical thought experiment of like, what would it mean to live forever? And they're kind of just overlapping, shouting those two viewpoints at each other. And I thought that was like legitimately a good scene. I was like, oh shit. All right, Infinite.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
The other thing I wanted to flag is, despite the movie's premise, they found a way for it to still have stakes, which I appreciated, and which is something that's missing from stuff like The Old Guard, where it's like, when the people die, they're going to come back, but it's still like, you're not going to see them for like 25 years. Like,
and which is why they didn't need the fucking dethroner.
Yeah.
On top of that, it's a fucking doomsday device.
Yeah.
So there's stakes in the sense that, like, if the villain wins, he will literally kill the whole world.
I mean, it's not like, I meant like on a small scale, like on an action scene scale, because it's like, it's like there can be a doomsday device, but when you have an invincible cast, they just kind of walk through action scenes and they're never in danger. And this one, if they get shot, it's a fucking problem.
Yeah, it's like playing Hades.
Yeah.
You're like, great, I have to start all the way back.
All the way over, yeah. So it's still like,
And that's what makes this tragic to me, because they started with whoever pitched this, whether it be the writer or a producer, they started with a
book,
simple. They started with a very simple idea that would create cool action and stakes, which is simply that they've reincarnated and they've maintained their knowledge. That alone, you can make a whole thing out of it. And I think somewhere in the writing process, somebody, and it can't be the writer because the writer doesn't have enough power, somebody needed to be like, we need to shake this Etch-a-Sketch. We have gotten too far down these rabbit holes.
Yeah.
And we've added too much. We've had too many ideas, too many cooks in the kitchen, and this is just a weird mutant that's covered in ideas that we need to fucking kill and, I don't know, reincarnate as a more elegant idea. Because they started with it, I assume. Who knows? Maybe this was the first draft. I sure hope it wasn't.
Yeah, that's real depressing if it was.
Yeah. And so, like, they needed to shake off all the bullshit and give us that, you know? Because they added double stakes on top of fucking the doomsday device. Like, Christ. They wanted, like, there's parts where Mark Wahlberg was like, oh, man, I just got to save the world. All right, no big deal. And it's like, oh, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it, movie.
Yeah, knock it off.
Get him out of here.
Yeah. And
he's the worst choice.
Well,
the worst choice.
To his credit, this movie clearly intended to set up a franchise, and he steps aside at the end.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the ending. He fucking dies. And reincarnates.
And is reincarnated as a fucking badass martial artist in Jakarta, which is like, man, if they made a second one, would they have put Iko Uwais in it? Because he just made he just made a movie with Mark Wahlberg like 2 years ago. So I was like, well, maybe that was their thinking.
Here's the thing.
I mean, they're not going to make another one.
If they made another one, some producer would chime up and be like, "Nah, we need Mark back."
Yeah, we got to get Mark back.
And they would find a way to have Mark Wahlberg back.
And it's like it's so clearly like the movie was designed specifically to not do that.
Yeah, this movie feels like its own worst enemy with this stuff.
That was honestly, my biggest surprise about this movie was not that it was bad, because of course it's a bad movie, but like it's not. Yeah. It's like it's frustrating because it was almost wasn't.
Frustrating.
It almost wasn't bad. Like you can see how it could have been good.
Yeah, you can see the early drafts or where the early idea.
Yeah.
And then probably Mark Wahlberg. They're like, we got Mark Wahlberg, and the writer's like, really? Because that doesn't. All right, sure.
That really doesn't seem like a good fit.
Yeah, it really doesn't seem like a good fit.
An odd choice.
Yeah, and then Mark Wahlberg comes in with his like list of like
here's everything I gotta
family
have.
values. It's got to be.
I gotta have
something.
a scene where I talk about eating eating your vegetables and doing exercises?
Yeah, exactly.
Can we make sure that my character tells all the other characters that doing drugs isn't good?
Yeah. And so it just became this. It's one of those things I wish producers understood, where it's like, you're making a bad movie right now, right this second, like you're ruining it. You're ruining it. But there's no, I don't know, and I don't know what lesson they're gonna get from this. They might come out of this and have the wrong lesson too. You know, they'll be like, oh, it was the wrong month,
or streaming, or there just wasn't the interest for Paramount Plus, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and it really comes down to the script is bad.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even mean the writer did a bad job. It just means, the short game, the little things, the scene to scene work, it's gibberish. And it is a shame. I really do think so, because
there's good ideas here. Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird, but like, I don't know, reboot it. Give it to a good writer.
Yeah.
Or again, not even, I don't want to judge this writer because I don't know who they are, but like give it to people in charge who understand, because it's weird saying this. It's weird to like know, like, this doesn't feel like the writer's fault. It feels like they had to do a thing.
Yeah, there's too many ideas.
Too many ideas.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things. That's one of the biggest problems.
Yeah, and maybe it is the writer's fault. I don't know.
Who knows?
It's the writer of Splinter, which is a good movie. I'm looking it up right now. And then these are writers who clearly these are new writers. Two of them. One of them wrote Splinter. One wrote something called 222, which I can't speak to. They're probably looking for work, and they probably had to deal with a lot of bullshit.
Oh man!
Because my fucking god!
Fucking Infinite.
Jesus fucking Christ! Directed by Antoine Fuqua. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, any other thoughts? Let me look at my notes real quick. If there's something major, I don't think there is. That drowning machine is the funniest
thing in the world, man. Just tie him down and fill a bowl full of water.
Yeah.
I saved you literally millions of dollars.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. You know how easy it is to drown?
Yeah, you can drown him with a wet washcloth. Just jam it in his throat.
Yeah. People do it all the time.
They do it all the time.
Yeah.
What is this? It's the breakfast machine.
Yeah. All it does is shoot.
It doesn't make breakfast at all. It just shoots you.
Oh my god. What a stupid movie. What a piece of shit. All right. I'm definitely gonna watch this more than 3 times. Like, it's not, again, it's
stupid.
It needs to be stupider, in my opinion, frankly, but it's still
they're also
enough.
Serious.
Yeah, again, give it Nicolas Cage. That would have for me made it a classic. Like, go watch Next. Next is one of those where it's like Next is a movie that starts with a premise that you're like, I could see that being a good movie. And then it clearly got away from the writers. And then someone was like, fuck it, Nicolas Cage. And then we had a movie. Not a good movie, but you know.
But a movie.
Yeah. All right. We're all set?
We're done.
Good?
Yeah, we're done.
Folks, we have a Patreon. Patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. If you go on there, you can check out some exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman and Fox Mulder is a Maniac and Star Trek, The Next Futurama, all available right now. We watch movies every Friday night with our patrons. That's another tier. Probably definitely going to watch this movie.
I mean,
right?
Yeah, I think that's pretty safe bet.
That's in the cards. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Check us out.
We're
great.
Yeah, we're pretty great. We also have a store at tpublic.com/stores/game for the unemployed. You can get t-shirts, masks, mugs, stickers, posters, all kinds of things. So check that out.
Check it out.
If and you would.
Yeah, and watch Infinite, I guess.
Sure.
If you have Paramount Plus, don't pay money for this. You don't need that.
No.
God damn it.